Morphin time!
The Ethics of Child Soldiers, Power Rangers Edition. In case you haven't heard, the planet Earth is suffering a global epidemic, child warriors. Sadly, countless children serve in armed conflicts around the world. They fight for legitimate governments and armed opposition groups alike. That being said, can this use of child soldiers ever be considered ethical? Would your answer change if the threat being faced was not of an African warlord or jihadi terrorist, but rather an intergalactic witch hell-bent on enslaving the known universe? Let's take a look at the 1993 series Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to find out. In the series, when Rita Repulsa and her minions were freed from a 10,000-year imprisonment within a space dumpster on the moon, the ancient wizard Zordon called upon his robotic assistant Alpha 5 to conscript 5 teenagers with attitude who could combat his longtime nemesis. Alpha summons Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Zach, and Billy and gives them the ability to morph into very colorful and aptly named Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Once morphed, these 5 receive power suits which provide enhanced physical capability, unique weaponry, and giant armored mechs capable of citywide destruction. The Power Rangers took it upon themselves to defend Earth from a weekly barrage of monsters and putties. Against the alien onslaught, the militaries of Earth were largely useless. Without the Rangers, humanity would be worshipping Empress Rita. Does this make Zordon's use of the teenage Power Rangers any more ethical? Does the end justify the means? Let's break it down more. Rangers are estimated to range from 15 to 17 years of age. By international standards, Zordon is technically employing the use of child soldiers. A child soldier is an individual under 18 who's used for military purposes. As with the Power Rangers, soldiers can be either girls or boys. While the purpose of the Power Rangers is to defend all things good and fight monsters, real-life child soldiers can also be used as spies, messengers, informants, and unfortunately, outlets for sexual desire. It's possible that Zordon originally assembled his team of teenagers with the assumption that humanity was still at the same level of technological development as when he first fought Rita over 10,000 years ago. At the time of Rita's imprisonment and Zordon's arrival to Earth, aka the end of the last ice age, the human population only numbered a few million, and we were only just beginning to transition from a society built on hunting and foraging to that of farming. Life was much harder and much shorter. By the time one became a teenager, said person was essentially middle-aged. Teenagers had much more responsibility, including childbirth and hunting. While this may explain why Zordon originally calls for the use of child warriors, it doesn't justify their usage. Societal norms are dynamic and shift as new technologies and ways of life are introduced. Just because child soldiers may have been commonly accepted 10,000 years ago doesn't mean that they should be today. In 2017, more than 240 million children around the world live in areas deeply affected by conflict, according to the Child Soldiers International Annual Report. Many face starvation, violence, exploitation, and displacement by armed forces and groups. Despite huge progress, 46 state militaries were reported as still recruiting children under the age of 18, while over 14,000 kids are involved with armed groups in the Central African Republic and over 19,000 involved in conflicts in the South Sudan. The 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child defined a child as anyone under the age of 18. The standard was made stronger in 2000 with OPAC, the first international treaty wholly focused on ending the military exploitation of children. 167 states have now banned the use of children, and at least 85 have criminalized recruitment. Though Power Rangers began in 1993, Zordon clearly violated all these protocols. While the Power Rangers themselves were quite precocious and may have been fully aware of the dangers afforded, we should never operate with the assumption that child soldiers are similarly educated about potential on-the-job dangers. As true heroes, little could stop the Power Rangers from trying to save the universe from enslavement. They needed little persuasion to risk their lives every week against ungodly monsters and beasts. Thus, although seemingly unnecessary for the Rangers, ideological indoctrination, or the hammering in of a set of beliefs, is often necessary to convert any soldier from civilian to warrior. To avoid parent interference in indoctrination, child soldiers are often forcibly removed from their families. Zordon, however, allowed his team to remain in ever-vigilant contact with their loved ones. He forced the Rangers to keep their superhero identity secret from family and friends. Secret identities are normally kept to avoid supervillains from murdering the hero's family and kidnapping the hero's friends. But, evidenced in Power Rangers, Rita knew exactly who each Ranger was under his or her mask and where each Ranger lived. So, Why did Zordon force his Rangers to maintain secrecy? Was it to limit the influence of outside entities who could exploit and manipulate the Rangers' power for personal gain? Did he realize that Zordon schematics falling into the hands of a foreign government could shift the world's power dynamic overnight? Or is it possible that Zordon had additional, more nefarious purposes in mind? Research has shown that children who are recruited into the military and combat groups are more likely to suffer serious and long-term psychological harm. Perhaps Zordon was not so much worried about the safety of the Rangers' families and the exploitation of technology, but rather the family forcing their kids to stop fighting in the first place. After all, what parent in their right mind would let their son or daughter fight these creepy-looking putty things? It's equally possible that if the Rangers' identities were publicly known, the adults of the world would condemn his choice of warriors. In the Boom Studio Power Rangers comics, it's revealed that a much more morally ambiguous Zordon had assembled a secret group of Power Rangers in 1969. 3 of these Rangers were tragically killed during their first mission. While the Mighty Morphin series may have never touched on these characters, or the true reality of death that may have confronted the Rangers, it's a stark reminder that the threats the Rangers face are real and the dangers lurking just around the corner. So, is the use of child soldiers ethical? Of course it isn't! Children are incapable of making educated and thought-out decisions regarding their personal agency until they are legally declared an adult at the age of 18. Power Rangers is a TV show, and an awesome one at that. But much like Robin and the Teen Titans, the Power Rangers exist in a world where common sense and reality operate with a major suspension of disbelief. Though their actions be noble and their fighting abilities legendary, if Power Rangers were real, then Zordon should be prosecuted for war crimes. What do you think about all this? Let us know in the comments below, click subscribe, and may the power protect you!